Kirtananda Swami. He was one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. He was also among the first 11 disciples who went on to become Acharya after the death of Srila Prabhupada. Kirtananda Swami was expelled from ISKCON in the year 1987. This was because the governing body investigations revealed illegal acts to have occurred within his jurisdiction.
At about 7 this morning, the state police set up roadblocks to keep visitors out and Krishnas in their community. Armed with federal search warrants, 50 federal and state officials raided 5 locations. Items seized included financial records, files, and computers. They also got box loads, which filled moving vans. Those were full of bumper stickers, general purpose stickers, and hats bearing the logos and colors of professional football and baseball teams and various colleges and universities. One unidentified Krishna, stopped along the road, claimed that the Krishnas are sent in teams to sports arenas. They offer stickers or hats to fans, then ask for donations. The Krishna claimed that this is a nationwide practice by all Krishnas, not only those in Marshall County. He said he and other participants had no knowledge that the logos and colors might bear copyrights or that they could be infringing upon them.
A book named Monkey on a Stick by John Hubner and Lindsay Gruson, published in 1989, calls him as the most ambitious and cruelest of all gurus. It also alleged him of running a drug ring and involvement in child molestation and racketeering.
The concept of the book, Monkey on a Stick, where did it come from, John? Why did you decide to do a book on this sect?
I'm a child of the 60s, Larry. I grew up. I remember extremely well when these people first appeared on college campuses and on city streets, and it was enlightening. Here was a Hindu religion that had come to America. I didn't know anything about it, and like most people, I went my own way, forgot about it, and then 15, 20 years later, I heard about some of the things that you've mentioned, murder, and that sort of thing, and I wondered how something that started out so good could have turned evil.
He was also alleged of murdering another disciple, Sulochana Das, who attempted to expose his immoral activities.
Since 1977, these new self-appointed gurus have made 300, 400, 500 disciples each. So right now they hold the power of the movement in their hands. They hold the money, they hold the properties, but they don't hold the morality.
Explain the title.
Monkey on a Stick comes from a murder, Larry. It occurred here in Los Angeles on May 21st, 1986. A former Hare Krishna devotee named Steve Bryant had started a one-man crusade. He was kind of ISKCON's Baader Meinhof gang, who he was going to expose the 11 gurus who were running the movement. He put together a chaotically written expose called The Guru Business, in which there was a myriad of charges. Police, journalists around the country wrote him off because he couldn't produce any hard evidence. Then he ended up dead out here, and as a hard-bitten cop told me, he bought credibility the hard way. He died for it. He became the monkey on the stick for the movement because that's a Hindu proverb that the founder brought to this country when he brought the religion. In India, when a monkey breaks into a banana plantation, they impale him on a stick, put him outside for the other monkeys to see, and the other monkeys know to stay out of the bananas. Steve Bryant became the human monkey on the stick.
In 1990, the US federal government indicted Kirtananda on 5 counts of racketeering, 6 counts of mail fraud, and conspiracy to murder 2 of his opponents in the Hare Krishna movement. It also charged that he ordered the killings because the victims had threatened to reveal his sexual abuse of minors.
Once known as Keith Ham, Kirtananda Swami Prabhupada normally attends 3 prayer services a day at his new Vrindavan community. But this Baptist minister's son has spent much of the past 2 weeks in federal court. Why? 5 racketeering charges, among them conspiracy to commit murder for hire and kidnapping. Helga Bryant testified for the prosecution. Her son Stephen, once a follower of the Swami in the mid-'80s, published a newsletter attacking him as a child molester. Commune fundraising techniques, he said, included illegal drug sales and prostitution.
He said he wanted to destroy them. He wanted to bring down the guru because he was just so corrupt and things had gotten so out of hand.
In May 1986, Stephen Bryant was shot dead in Los Angeles. The alleged triggerman, a former New Vrindavan resident, Thomas Drescher, Drescher's spiritual master, the Swami. The prosecution charges Bhaktipad and co-defendant Terry Sheldon, Krishna named Tapapunj, conspired to have Bryant murdered for $8,000 in cash.
After his imprisonment, Kirtananda Swami returned to India in 2008 and later died in 2011 due to kidney failure.
Kirtananda was really probably the worst in terms of criminal enterprises, because he had people buying and selling drugs. He had these women's parties where the women were being abused, you know, sexually and physically and everything else. And this guy Dharamatma was in charge of that party, and like everybody knew these women were being abused, but you know, that's the way Kirtananda managed things. But there was also child abuse, you know, sexual abuse going on there. He had a Gurukula, and he was himself sexually abusing some of the children there, which eventually led to a giant lawsuit. You know, that's how the Wendell Turley lawsuit eventually started, because, you know, these children in New Vrindavan weren't being treated well. And some of the girls, who were 13 at the time, were being married to much older men by Radhanath, you know, but they weren't being married legally. They would just be given like a flower exchange ceremony, because legally you can't marry a 13-year-old girl, you know, yeah, it's not legal. So they just did these so-called temple weddings, and so a lot of people suffered. A lot of the young people, you know, the young women were suffering. Were getting married to these creepy guys. Some of the boys were molested, and it was just like a party going on there, a free-for-all, you know, and a lot of abuse went on there. So Kirtananda had criminal things going on, abuse things going on, just every kind of bogus, horrible thing you can think about was going on there. Well, after Sulochan was killed, the FBI raided his place, yeah, and you know, yeah, he went to prison for a while, yeah, but no one ever really got charged, you know, the way they should have been. I mean, Tirtha just said he was operating independently. He covered up for the rest of the guys, you know, so they got away with it. So, you know, Radhanath got off the hook, really, you know, because he was part of that whole thing. Well, Kirtananda, you know, moved his whole operation to India, and you know, he had a temple in Bombay, and that whole program is now Radhanath's program. Radhanath inherited Kirtananda's program. So, you know, Radhanath was the right-hand man of Kirtananda. I mean, he buried Kirtananda in Vrindavan. Kirtananda is in a samadhi right now, so Radhanath still thinks that Kirtananda is a pure devotee, because only a pure devotee is buried in a samadhi.